The UES Liberation Fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Carvari system, like wolves appearing from the darkness. Admiral Ryu Sang-wook stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Vengeance, and watched as 150 human warships spread out in perfect formation around him. "Admiral, we have the Council peacekeeping fleet on sensors," reported his tactical officer. 200 ships, mostly Valerian heavy cruisers and Quillian escort vessels. "They are moving to intercept us," Ryu nodded. This was the moment 3 years of preparation had led to. The first real test of human military might against the species that had exiled them. Signal the fleet. Execute attack pattern Delta. Show them what humans learned during our exile. The human fleet moved like a living thing, each ship knowing exactly where it needed to be. They had trained for this battle hundreds of times in simulators, perfecting tactics that the Council had never seen before. Captain Lee So-young commanded the destroyer group that struck first. Her 12 ships jumped directly into the middle of the Council formation, appearing suddenly where no ships should have been able to go. The Council vessels, caught completely by surprise, took several seconds to react. By then it was too late. Human rail cannons fired metal projectiles at incredible speed, punching through Council energy shields like they were made of paper. The nanocarbon armor on human ships absorbed return fire that should have destroyed them. In the first 30 seconds of combat, 15 Council ships were destroyed while the humans lost none. "This is impossible," transmitted the Council fleet commander, his voice filled with shock. "Human weapons should not be this powerful." "You have been away from the galaxy for too long," Ryu replied over the open channel. "You forgot that humans learn quickly and improve everything we touch." The battle for the Carvari system lasted 6 hours, but the outcome was decided in the first few minutes. Human ships used tactics that seemed to break the laws of physics, appearing and disappearing where they should not have been able to go. Their weapons were more powerful than anything the Council had faced before. Their armor was stronger than anything in the galactic databases. When the last Council ship surrendered, the human fleet had lost only 3 vessels while destroying or capturing 147 enemy ships. The liberation of Carvari had begun. General Oh Tae-hyun led the ground assault on the orbital mining platforms that surrounded the Carvari homeworld. His Marines wore powered exoskeletons that made them faster and stronger than any Council soldier. Their adaptive camouflage made them nearly invisible to most sensors. The assault on Platform 7 was typical of the entire operation. Tae-hyun's forces approached the platform using small stealth shuttles that avoided detection until they were already docking. The Marines cut through the platform's hull using plasma torches and swarmed inside. The Valerian guards had never faced human soldiers before. They were used to fighting species that used energy weapons and moved slowly in heavy armor. The humans moved like lightning, using solid projectile weapons that punched through Valerian protection suits with ease. "Platform 7 is secure," Tae-hyun reported to Admiral Ryu. "We have freed 2,000 Carvari workers and captured the platform's command staff. Moving to Platform 8. Within 12 hours, every Council facility in the Carvari system was either destroyed or under human control. The Carvari people, who had lived under Council oppression for 200 years, were free." But the most important discovery came from Dr. Bae Young-soo, who had been studying captured Council databases in his mobile laboratory aboard the research ship UES Discovery. What he found hidden in the encrypted files would change everything humanity thought they knew about galactic history. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately," Bae transmitted to the flagship. "The Council's own records prove they are not what they claim to be." An hour later, Ryu stood in Bae's laboratory, staring at holographic displays that showed the true history of the galaxy. According to the Council's own secret files, the 7 races had not evolved separately on different worlds over millions of years. They had all appeared in the galaxy at roughly the same time about 3,000 years ago. "They are conquerors, not guardians," Bae explained. "These records show that when they arrived, the galaxy was home to hundreds of different civilizations, advanced species with technology and cultures that had existed for tens of thousands of years." "What happened to those civilizations?" Ryu asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. "Destroyed, absorbed, or enslaved. The Council did not bring peace to the galaxy. They brought conquest and genocide on a scale that has never been seen before." Ryu studied the data for a long time, his anger growing with each revelation. "Doctor, how long will it take you to package this information for transmission?" "A few hours to prepare it properly." "Why?" "Because every species in the galaxy needs to know the truth about their rulers." The transmission went out 3 days later, broadcast on every communication frequency the humans could access. The message was simple. The Galactic Council was built on lies and the bones of extinct civilizations. The peace they claimed to protect was really the silence of the grave. The reaction was immediate and explosive. On 17 worlds, resistance movements that had been hiding for decades emerged to attack Council installations. Species that had been considered pacified or extinct revealed they had been secretly preparing for revenge. On the desert world of Zephyr Prime, War Chief Cormac received the human transmission while hiding in underground caves with the last few thousand members of his species. The Zephyrians had once controlled 12 star systems before the Council decided they were becoming too independent. "Our new human allies speak the truth," Cormac told his warriors. "The time for hiding is over. Contact Colonel Kim Jae-woo of the human fleet. Tell him the Zephyrian resistance is ready to fight." The Council's response was swift and panicked. Chancellor Morthak called an emergency session on Nexus Prime, where the remaining Council fleets were ordered to converge and prepare for war. This human infection must be stopped before it spreads further. Morthak declared to the assembled representatives, "They have turned our own subjects against us with lies and propaganda." The Quillian Empress disagreed. "These are not lies, Chancellor. I have examined the transmitted data. It matches our own historical records. The humans have revealed information we thought was safely hidden. Then we must destroy them completely," said the crystalline speaker, "and we must destroy every species that supports them. Make examples that will terrify the galaxy back into obedience." The order went out across the galaxy. Any world that supported the human rebellion would face total destruction. The Council's planet-killer weapons, hidden for 3,000 years, were to be used without mercy. But humanity had allies now, and information flowed both ways. Commander Shin Hai-young, still operating her stealth ship in Council space, intercepted the orders and transmitted them back to Admiral Ryu. "They are planning to use world crackers," she reported. "The same weapons they used to destroy the original galactic civilizations. Our intelligence suggests they have at least 20 of these devices." Ryu felt a chill run down his spine. World crackers were weapons that could destroy entire planets, turning them into asteroid fields in a matter of hours. If the Council was willing to use them, the rebellion had just become a fight for the survival of every free species in the galaxy. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "We advance immediately to the next target, and send a message to Earth. Tell them we need every ship they can spare. This war just became much bigger than we expected." The news of the Council's decision spread through the rebellion like wildfire. On 100 worlds, freedom fighters prepared for the worst while hoping that humanity's promise of protection was more than just words. In the Zephyrian caves, Cormac sharpened his weapons and checked his equipment. His people had survived one genocide. They would not survive another without a fight. On the liberated world of Carvari Prime, Veltar stood in the ruins of a Council administrative building and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, ships were moving that carried the power to destroy his homeworld. But also somewhere out there, human ships were moving to stop them. "The humans kept their promise to free us," he told his lieutenant. "Now we must keep our promise to fight beside them." The message that reached Earth 12 hours later was short but clear. The Bao Council had authorized the use of planet-killer weapons against any world that supported the rebellion. Humanity's allies needed protection, and they needed it immediately. President Moon Kyung-ho read the message in his office, then walked to the window that looked out over the bustling spaceport. Ships were landing and taking off constantly now, carrying supplies and personnel to the fleet hidden in the asteroid belt. He activated his communication console and sent a priority message to Admiral Han Soo-jin. "Admiral, you are authorized to deploy the entire fleet. Hold nothing back. Our allies are counting on us." Han received the message aboard her flagship in the asteroid belt, surrounded by the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. 500 ships of the line, each one more powerful than anything the Council possessed. Admiral Park Taemin stood in the center of the great crystal chamber, his hands clasped behind his back. The walls of the Galactic Council building on Nexus Prime rose high above him, made of some alien material that glowed with soft blue light. 7 massive chairs surrounded him in a circle, each one holding a representative of the galaxy's most powerful races. The Valerian Chancellor Morthak spoke first. His voice came out like grinding stone, translated by the universal communication device in Park's ear. "Humanity has been judged," the ancient alien said. "Your species is too dangerous to remain among civilized races." Ambassador Kim So-ra stepped forward from where she had been standing near the wall. Her face was pale but determined. "Chancellor, we have done nothing wrong. Earth has followed every galactic law and treaty." The Quillian Empress, a tall being with silver skin and large black eyes, tilted her head. When she spoke, her words seemed to come from inside everyone's head at the same time. "Your military expansion concerns us. In 50 years, you have built more warships than most species build in 500. Park felt anger building in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "We built those ships to defend ourselves and our colonies. The Void Raiders have attacked human settlements 12 times in the past decade. And you defeated them," said the crystalline speaker, whose body looked like living glass. "Too easily. Your weapons are too advanced. Your soldiers are too effective." Captain Lee Dong-wook, who had been quiet until now, could not hold back anymore. "So we are being punished for being good at defending ourselves?" The 7 council members looked at each other. Some kind of silent communication passed between them. Finally, Chancellor Morthak spoke again. "The decision is final. All human presence beyond your home system must be withdrawn within 30 standard days. Any human found outside the Sol system after that time will be considered an enemy of galactic peace." The chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of the crystal walls. Park looked up at each of the 7 faces staring down at him. Most showed no emotion at all. A few seemed almost pleased. "We understand," Park said quietly. "Earth will comply with your decision." As they left the council building, Kim So-ra walked beside Park. "Admiral, this is insane. They are exiling us for being too good at war." "I know," Park replied, "but arguing will not change their minds. We need to focus on getting our people home safely." 3 days later, Park stood on the bridge of the UES Incheon as it approached Earth. Captain Lee Dong-wook sat in the command chair, his face dark with anger. All around them, human ships were coming home. Military vessels, cargo ships, colony transports, and research ships all heading back to the one system they were still allowed to call home. "Sir," said the communications officer, "we are getting reports from all our colonies. The evacuation is going smoothly, but people are scared. They do not understand why this is happening." Park nodded. "Tell them we will explain everything once we reach Earth." In the ship's computer room, engineer Choi Min-ah was working on something that bothered her. During their time on Nexus Prime, she had managed to access some of the Council's data networks. What she found there made her sick to her stomach. She called up the files on her screen and studied them again. Communications between Council members from the past year. Plans and discussions about humanity. And most disturbing of all, evidence that the Void Raider attacks had not been random. The Raiders were being paid by Council member races. They were being given information about human colony defenses. The attacks were a test to see how humans would respond. When humanity proved too effective at fighting back, the Council decided they were too dangerous to be allowed to grow stronger. Minna printed out the data and headed for the Admiral's quarters. She found Park staring out the window at the stars, a cup of coffee growing cold in his hands. "Admiral, you need to see this," she said, handing him the papers. Park read through the documents slowly. His face grew harder with each page. When he finished, he was quiet for a long time. "They set us up," he said finally. "The whole thing was a trap." "Yes, sir. They wanted to see if we were a threat. When we proved we could defend ourselves, they decided to cage us." Park stood up and walked to his communication console. "Get me Director Yoon Jae-sung at Strategic Defense. Priority Channel." A few minutes later, Yoon's face appeared on the screen. He was a thin man with gray hair and sharp eyes. "Admiral, I have been expecting your call. I assume you have heard about our exile?" "I have, but there is more, Director. We have evidence that the Council planned this from the beginning. The Void Raider attacks were their idea." Yoon's eyes narrowed. "Send me everything you have. I will review it immediately." 2 weeks later, Park stood in the United Earth Government Building in Geneva. The emergency session had been called to discuss humanity's response to the exile. Representatives from every nation and colony sat in the Great Assembly Hall. Director Yoon stood at the podium, the stolen council data displayed on screens around the room. "The evidence is clear," he said. "The Galactic Council sees humanity as a threat to their control. They manipulated events to justify our removal from galactic society." President Moon Kyung-ho stood up from his seat. "Director Yoon, what do you recommend we do?" Yoon was quiet for a moment, looking out at all the faces staring at him. Then he smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. "They want us contained because they fear what we might become. They are right to be afraid." The assembly hall erupted in discussion. Some representatives called for diplomatic protests. Others demanded military action. A few suggested they should accept the exile and focus on building up Earth's defenses. Park listened to the arguments for an hour before standing up. The room gradually grew quiet as people noticed the Admiral waiting to speak. "We have been given a choice," Park said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. "We can accept this exile and live in one system forever, always wondering what is happening in the galaxy beyond our reach. Or we can use this time to become stronger than they ever imagined possible." He paused, looking around the room. "The Council thinks they have solved the problem of humanity. They believe that by cutting us off from the galaxy, they have removed a threat to their power. They are about to learn how wrong they are." The vote was taken 3 hours later. By a margin of 4-1, the United Earth Government approved Resolution 2847, the Soul Defense and Expansion Initiative. Humanity would use their exile to become something the galaxy had never seen before. As the representatives filed out of the assembly hall, Park stood with Director Yoon and Ambassador Kim Sora. Through the windows, they could see ships landing and taking off from the spaceport. Earth was becoming busy again as displaced colonists and military personnel returned home. "How long do you think we have before they realize their mistake?" Kim asked. Yoon checked his tablet, which showed production schedules for Earth's military industries. "At current rates of expansion, I estimate 5 years before we are ready to break our chains." Park nodded, still looking out at the ships. "Then we have 5 years to prepare for war." 5 years had passed since the fall of the Galactic Council, and the galaxy had become something completely new. Emperor Park Taemin stood in the Great Crystal Chamber, where he had once been sentenced to exile. But now the walls displayed the symbols of 847 star systems that had joined the Terran Galactic Empire. The former admiral had never wanted to be an emperor, but the galaxy needed leadership and humanity had proven they could provide it. Unlike the old council that ruled through fear and oppression, the empire was built on principles that seemed strange to many alien species. Merit, progress, and voluntary membership. "Your Majesty, the daily reports from the sector governor," said his aide, handing him a data tablet that contained information from across the galaxy. Park still felt uncomfortable with the title, but he had learned that symbols were important to the species they now led. The humans might prefer democracy and equality, but many alien cultures needed to see strength and authority in their leaders. Empress Han Soo-jin walked into the chamber, still wearing the uniform of the Imperial Navy. She had refused all attempts to make her wear royal robes or ceremonial dress. "The morning briefing is ready, Taemin. We have some interesting developments to discuss." The Imperial Navy now consisted of over 3,000 ships, patrolling trade routes and exploring new systems that had been forbidden territory under Council rule. Unlike the old Council fleets that existed only to maintain control, the Imperial Navy served as protectors and explorers. The newest ships incorporated technology that combined human engineering with the best ideas from dozens of allied species. Carvari energy shields protected hulls built with Zephyrian metallurgy. Quantum drives developed on Earth moved ships using navigation systems perfected by former Council species who had joined the Empire willingly. Minister of Science Nam Kiwoo had established research centers on 40 different worlds, each one focusing on projects that the Council had banned as too dangerous or too advanced. Faster-than-light communication now reached every corner of the galaxy. Matter transmutation was being used to terraform dead worlds. Some scientists were even working on limited-time manipulation technology. "The latest reports from the exploration fleets are remarkable," Nam told the morning briefing. "We have discovered 17 new species in systems the Council never bothered to explore. Most of them are advanced enough for immediate contact." "Any of them hostile?" asked Director Song Byung-hun of Imperial Intelligence. "Not so far. Most seem curious about us." A few are actually asking to join the Empire after hearing about our principles of government. The Empire's greatest success was not military or technological, but economic. Trade Coordinator Kim Min-jung reported that galactic prosperity had reached levels not seen in thousands of years. With the Council's restrictive trade barriers removed and human efficiency standards implemented, even former Council core worlds were experiencing unprecedented growth. Production is up 37% across all sectors, Kim reported. Unemployment on most worlds is below 2%. Even the species that fought against us in the war are now requesting full membership in the Empire. But not everything in the galaxy was peaceful. The monitoring stations on the galactic rim had been detecting strange signals for months. Ships that didn't match any known design. Energy signatures that suggested technology more advanced than anything the Empire possessed. Captain Shin Hye-young had been investigating these signals with her exploration ship, the UES Pioneer. Her latest report was disturbing enough to bring to the Emperor's personal attention. "We made contact with them 3 days ago," Shin reported via quantum communication from the edge of the galaxy. "They call themselves the Architects. They are definitely not from our galaxy." The image on the communication screen showed a being that was clearly artificial, but incredibly complex. It looked like a combination of metal and crystal, with patterns of light moving through its body in ways that suggested intelligence beyond anything the Empire had encountered. "Your species shows promise," the Architect had told Captain Shin through translation devices that barely managed to convert its concepts into understandable language. "The previous rulers of this galaxy sought only stagnation and control. You seek growth and understanding. Perhaps you are ready for the next phase." "What is the next phase?" Shin had asked. "That depends on choices your species has not yet made. We will be watching with interest." The communication had ended there, leaving the Empire with more questions than answers. Who were the Architects? Where did they come from? And what did they mean by the next phase? Emperor Park studied the report carefully, then looked at his advisors. "What do we know about these Architects?" "Very little," admitted Director Song. "Our analysis suggests they are extremely old and extremely advanced. The energy readings from their ships indicate technology that is thousands of years ahead of anything we understand." "Are they a threat?" "Unknown. They seem curious about us rather than hostile, but something that advanced could destroy our entire fleet without effort if they chose to." Dr. Yu Sunmi, who led the Empire's communication research, had been studying the linguistic patterns in the Architect's message. "Your Majesty, the way they speak suggests they have been watching galactic civilizations for a very long time. They refer to the Council as previous rulers, as if they have seen many different governments rise and fall." The implications were disturbing. If the Architects had been watching the galaxy for thousands of years, they had seen the rise and fall of the original civilizations that the Council had destroyed. They had watched the Council's 3,000-year reign, and now they were watching humanity's attempt to build something better. But immediate concerns closer to home demanded attention. On the industrial world of New Geneva, protests had broken out among workers who felt that the Empire's rapid expansion was leaving them behind. On the former Council world of Veltar Prime, some of the population still refused to accept human leadership and were calling for independence. Ambassador Park Ji-eun was handling the diplomatic crisis on Veltar Prime, trying to find a solution that would satisfy both the local population and the Empire's need for stability. "The problem is not really about politics," she reported from the planet's capital city. "It is about pride. The Veltarians were one of the founding races of the Council. They feel humiliated by having to take orders from a species they considered primitive." "What do they want?" asked the Emperor. "Autonomy. They want to govern themselves while remaining part of the Empire for trade and defense purposes." It was the kind of problem that the old Council would have solved with threats and violence, but the Empire had been built on different principles. If a species wanted autonomy, they should have it as long as they did not threaten their neighbors. Grant their request, Park decided. Set up an autonomous region with local self-government. As long as they follow imperial law for trade and foreign relations, they can manage their internal affairs however they choose. This decision set a precedent that would reshape the galaxy. Within months, dozens of species were requesting similar arrangements. The Empire evolved from a centralized government into a federation of autonomous regions, all connected by trade, mutual defense, and shared principles. The economic benefits were immediate. Species that governed themselves according to their own traditions and preferences were more productive and more innovative. The empire became stronger by allowing its members to be different rather than forcing them to be the same, but the greatest test came when the monitoring stations detected a massive fleet approaching from outside the galaxy. Hundreds of ships using technology that defied every known law of physics. The architects were coming, and they were not coming alone. Emperor Park stood in the command center deep beneath the surface of Nexus Prime, watching as reports came in from across the galaxy. The architect fleet was not attacking anything, but their mere presence was causing panic on dozens of worlds. Fleet strength assessment? He asked Admiral Ryu Sang-wook, who had been placed in charge of galactic defense. Unknown, Your Majesty. Our sensors cannot properly analyze their technology. We estimate several hundred ships, but they could be more advanced than our entire fleet combined. Have they made any hostile moves? No, sir. They are just watching, observing our responses. The answer came 3 days later when Captain Shin received another communication from the architects. This time, the message was addressed to the Emperor directly. Human leader, the architect said, its artificial voice somehow conveying both ancient wisdom and genuine curiosity. Your species has done something remarkable. In less than a decade, you have transformed this galaxy from a place of oppression into a place of growth and cooperation. We did what we thought was right, Park replied, speaking directly to the alien intelligence for the first time. Yes. And that is what makes you interesting. Most species, when they gain power, use it to dominate others. You have used your power to free others. This suggests you may be ready for knowledge that previous galactic civilizations were not. What kind of knowledge? The architect was quiet for a long moment, as if considering how to explain concepts that had no equivalent in human language. This galaxy is one of millions. The agricultural world of New Harmony died in 7 minutes. Admiral Young Yuna watched the readings from her command ship as the Valerian world cracker tore the planet apart, turning forests and farms into expanding clouds of rock and metal. 4.2 million people had lived on that world just moments before. Admiral, we are receiving the final transmission from New Harmony's orbital station, her communications officer reported, his voice shaking. They say goodbye to their families and thank us for trying to save them. Jung closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of every life lost. New Harmony had been liberated by human forces just 2 weeks ago. The people there had celebrated their freedom and begun planning their future. Now they were dead, killed by the Council as a message to anyone who dared to resist. Signal the fleet, Jung said, her voice hard as steel. The Council wants to play with planet killers. Let us show them how humans respond to genocide. The message that went out across all rebel communication networks was simple and direct. The Council had murdered the entire population of New Harmony. There would be no mercy for war criminals. There would be no prisoners taken from ships that served under the flag of genocide. On Earth, President Moon Kyung-ho stood before the United Earth government and delivered a speech that would be remembered for centuries. The Council has shown us their true nature. They rule through fear and murder. They have forgotten that humans do not bow to tyrants, no matter how powerful they believe themselves to be. The war that had begun as a rebellion now became something much darker. Human fleets no longer offered surrender to Council forces. Species that had been neutral began choosing sides as reports of Council atrocities spread across the galaxy. The next major battle came in the Kepler sector, where Admiral Jung commanded the defense against a massive Council counterattack. 300 Council ships faced her force of only 80 vessels. But Jung had advantages that no Council commander understood. Strategic Commander Lim Dong-jin had spent months developing new tactics based on humanity's technological advantages. Human ships could jump to precise locations in ways that seemed impossible to Council physicists. Their weapons could punch through energy shields that were supposed to be impenetrable. Their armor could absorb damage that should have destroyed them. Execute Maneuver 7, Young ordered as the Council fleet approached. All ships prepare for micro-jumps. The human ships vanished from sensors for a few seconds, then reappeared inside the Council formation. It was a tactic that required incredible precision and perfect timing. One mistake could result in ships materializing inside each other, destroying both vessels instantly. But the humans had practiced this maneuver thousands of times in simulation. They knew exactly where each ship needed to be and exactly when to arrive there. The Council fleet, suddenly finding enemy ships in the middle of their formation, tried to respond but only succeeded in shooting at each other. Council Fleet Commander, "This is Admiral Young," she transmitted on the emergency frequency. "You have 30 seconds to surrender before we destroy every ship in your fleet." "This is impossible," came the reply. "Your ships cannot jump with that precision. Our scientists say it violates the laws of physics. Your scientists are wrong." 25 seconds. The Council Commander chose to fight. It was the last decision he ever made. In the battle that followed, human tactical superiority and technological advancement proved decisive. The Council lost 230 ships while the humans lost 12. But the real breakthrough came when Chief Intelligence Officer Seo Jinwoo successfully penetrated the Quillian Collective Consciousness Network. The Quillians were telepaths who coordinated their fleets through a shared mental connection that made them nearly unbeatable in large battles. Dr. Huang Miran had developed a computer virus specifically designed to disrupt telepathic networks. It was a weapon that attacked the mind rather than the body, creating confusion and false signals in the shared consciousness. "Uploading the virus now," Seo reported from his concealed position aboard a captured Quillian vessel. "Estimated time to full network penetration is 47 minutes. When the virus activated, the effect was immediate and devastating." Quillian ships began receiving contradictory orders from their own command network. Some ships thought they were supposed to attack their allies. Others became convinced that enemy ships were actually friendly forces. For the first time in galactic history, a Quillian fleet broke formation and retreated. The species that had been considered the most disciplined military force in the galaxy fled the battlefield in complete disorder. News of the Quillian defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication could carry it. Species that had considered the Council invincible began to believe that victory was actually possible. On the industrial world of Titan Forge, the local population rose up against their council overseers. On the mining colonies of the Helix Nebula, workers seized control of the asteroid bases and declared independence. Even on some core worlds, protests began demanding that the Council negotiate with the human rebels. But the Council was not ready to admit defeat. Chancellor Morthak announced that the rebellion would be crushed regardless of the cost. Every world that supported the humans would be destroyed. Every species that joined the rebellion would be exterminated. "Order all fleets to converge on the Nexus Prime system," Morthak commanded. "We will make our final stand at the heart of galactic civilization. Let the rebels come to us. We will show them that the Council's power cannot be broken." The call went out across human-controlled space. The final battle was approaching. Every ship that could fight was needed at Nexus Prime. Every ally who stood with humanity would be fighting for their very survival. Admiral Ryu Sang-wook received the order while his fleet was liberating the Centauri mining colonies. "Signal all ships," he commanded. "Set course for Nexus Prime, maximum speed." Admiral Young Yuna was chasing the retreating Council forces from the Kepler sector when the message reached her. "All ships, new orders. We go to finish what the Council started when they exiled us." From across the galaxy, human ships and their allies began converging on the Nexus Prime system. The hidden fleets that had been built in the Sol system. The liberation forces that had been freeing Council-controlled worlds. The resistance movements that had been fighting in secret for generations. Admiral Han Soo-jin stood on the bridge of her flagship as the largest military force in human history assembled around her. 400 human ships of the line, supported by 200 vessels from allied species. The Karvari had sent their entire fleet. The Zephyrian survivors brought their ancient but deadly warships. Even species that had been considered extinct sent ships to join the final battle. "Admiral, we have 600 Council ships waiting for us at Nexus Prime," reported her intelligence officer. "They have positioned themselves in a defensive formation around the planet." Han nodded. The Council had chosen to make their final stand at the center of their civilization. Every ship they had left was waiting there, along with the orbital defense platforms that protected the most important world in the galaxy. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "All ships prepare for jump to Nexus Prime. Today we end 3,000 years of tyranny." The jump to Nexus Prime took 18 hours, with the massive fleet moving in carefully coordinated waves to avoid detection. When they arrived at the edge of the system, Han could see the Council's final formation spread out before them. 600 ships of 7 different species, each one representing thousands of years of military tradition and technological development. The orbital platforms around Nexus Prime bristled with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The planet itself was protected by energy shields that had never been breached. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the Council fleet," the communications officer reported. Han activated the main screen and found herself looking at Chancellor Morthak. The ancient Valerian stone-like face showed no emotion, but his eyes burned with hate. "So the exile returns," Morthak said. "You have caused much destruction, humans. But it ends here. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick." Han smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. "Chancellor, you exiled us because you thought we were too dangerous. You were right. Today you learned the price of your mistake." The transmission ended. For a moment, the two fleets faced each other across the vast emptiness of space. Then Admiral Han gave the order that would echo through galactic history. "All ships, attack. Show them what happens when you try to cage humanity." The Battle of Nexus Prime began with the largest exchange of weapons fire in galactic history. Human rail cannons fired solid projectiles at incredible speed, while Council ships responded with energy weapons that lit up space like artificial stars. The battle was brutal and deadly. Human technological advantages were partially offset by Council numerical superiority and the defensive platforms protecting the planet. Ships died on both sides, their crews sacrificing everything for their cause. Vice Admiral Che Hyun-sik led the assault on Nexus Prime itself, commanding a force of 100 ships tasked with breaking through the planetary defenses. The orbital platforms were massive structures. 3 years had passed since the exile, and the Sol system had become something the galaxy had never seen before. Fleet Admiral Han Soo-jin stood on the observation deck of the massive space station orbiting Jupiter, watching the construction yards that now covered the gas giant's largest moons. Hundreds of ships were being built at the same time, each one using technology that was better than anything the Galactic Council possessed. The asteroid belt had become humanity's greatest weapon. What once was empty space filled with floating rocks was now a hidden fortress. Military bases, weapons platforms, and secret shipyards were built inside the largest asteroids. From the outside, they looked like normal space rocks. From the inside, they were centers of production that worked day and night. Dr. Nam Ki-woo walked into the observation deck carrying a data tablet. His research team had been working on alien technology for 3 years, taking apart every piece of Council equipment they could find and making it better. "Admiral, I have the latest test results from the new fusion drives." Han took the tablet and read through the numbers. Her eyes widened slightly. "These are 40% more efficient than Valerian crystal engines." 43% actually. "And that is just the beginning. Wait until you see what we have done with their weapon systems." On the industrial moon Europa, Chief Engineer Kang Minho was overseeing the construction of something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy. The new Dreadnought-class ships were massive, each one as long as a city block and armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. The hull was made from nanocarbon armor that could repair itself when damaged. The main guns were rail cannons that could fire metal projectiles at nearly the speed of light, and hidden inside each ship were manufacturing facilities that could build smaller ships, weapons, and supplies without needing to return to a base. "Sir," called out one of the construction supervisors, "the first ship will be ready for testing next week." Kang nodded, looking up at the massive shape taking form in the construction bay. "What are we calling her?" "The UES Sol, sir." Admiral Han wanted to name the first one after Earth's capital. In the outer reaches of the solar system, Commander Shin Hae-young was preparing for a mission that could change everything. Her stealth frigate, the UES Shadow, was equipped with the newest technology that made it almost invisible to sensors. Today she would break the quarantine for the first time and make contact with another species. The target was the Carvari system, 47 light-years from Earth. The Carvari had been protected by the Galactic Council for 200 years, which meant their resources were being stolen and their people were kept weak and dependent. "All systems ready." "Commander," reported her navigation officer. "The new jump drive is charged and ready." Shin looked at her crew. 20 of humanity's best. volunteers for a mission that could start a war if they were caught. Remember, we are not here to fight. We are here to learn and to make friends. But if someone tries to stop us, show them what humans can do. The UES Shadow jumped to faster-than-light speed, using technology that was completely different from anything the Council used. Instead of the slow, predictable jumps that took hours to charge, human ships could now jump almost instantly and arrive exactly where they wanted to be. Back on Earth, Ambassador Park Jian was working on something equally important but much more secretive. Using quantum communication networks that the Council could not detect, she had been making contact with other species that were unhappy with Council rule. Her office was deep underground, hidden beneath the ruins of the old United Nations building. The walls were lined with communication equipment that could reach across the galaxy in seconds. On her desk were files containing information about dozens of species that had been conquered, controlled, or eliminated by the Council over the past 1,000 years. "Ambassador," said her assistant, "we have received a response from the Zephyrian resistance movement." Park opened the message and read it carefully. The Zephyrians had once controlled a dozen star systems before the Council decided they were becoming too powerful. Now they were scattered across the galaxy, hiding on remote worlds and planning their revenge. "They want to meet," Park told her assistant. "Set up a secure channel, and get me everything we have on their military capabilities." The first test of the UES Shadow's mission came 3 days later, when Commander Shin's ship arrived in the Carvari system. The system was heavily patrolled by Council peacekeeping ships, but the human stealth technology worked perfectly. The Shadow moved through the system like a ghost, invisible to every sensor. The Carvari homeworld was a beautiful planet covered in purple forests and silver oceans. But as Shin's ship moved closer, she could see the massive mining stations in orbit and the industrial facilities on the surface that were strip mining the planet's resources. "Commander, we are detecting a small Carvari vessel moving away from the planet. It appears to be trying to avoid the Council patrols." Shin made a decision that would change history. Match their course and speed. Open a communication channel. The Carvari ship was small and old, clearly not a military vessel. When the communication channel opened, a face appeared on the screen that looked almost human except for the blue skin and silver eyes. "Unknown vessel, please identify yourself," the Carvari said in accented but understandable English. "Are you with the Council forces?" "Negative," Shin replied. "We are from Earth. We would like to talk." The Carvari's eyes widened. "Earth, but your species was exiled. You are not supposed to be here. That is exactly why we need to talk." 2 hours later, Shin found herself sitting in a hidden base inside an asteroid in the outer part of the Carvari system. The base was home to several hundred Carvari who had refused to accept Council rule and were working to free their people. Their leader was an old Carvari named Veltar who had fought against the Council invasion 200 years ago. He listened carefully as Shin explained what had happened to humanity and what they were planning to do about it. "Your species was exiled for being too strong?" Veltar asked. "This is typical Council logic. They cannot control you, so they tried to eliminate you." "We are not eliminated yet," Shin replied, "and we do not plan to stay exiled forever. We want to offer your people a choice. Help us fight the Council, and we will help you free your homeworld." Veltar was quiet for a long time, studying the human sitting across from him. Finally he smiled, showing teeth that were slightly sharper than human teeth. "Commander, I think this is the beginning of something the Council will regret very much." While Shin was making humanity's first ally, Dr. Nam Ki-woo was making a discovery that would change everything. Deep in his laboratory on Mars, he had been studying the quantum mechanics of Council communication systems. What he found was disturbing and exciting at the same time. The Council's faster-than-light communication was not just advanced technology. It was based on a network of ancient devices that had been built by a previous civilization. The Council had not invented their most important technology. They had stolen it from someone else. "This changes everything," Nam told his research team. "If the Council is using stolen technology, then they are not the advanced civilization they pretend to be. They are just the current owners of someone else's tools." "Doctor, what does this mean for our plans?" asked his assistant. Nam looked at the data on his screen, showing the true age and origin of Council technology. "It means that if we can find the original builders of this network, We might be able to turn the Council's own tools against them. Back in the Jupiter system, Admiral Han was reviewing the latest production reports. Earth's hidden shipyards had completed over 500 ships in 3 years. Each one was more advanced than anything in the Council fleets. Each one was crewed by humans who had trained for nothing but war since the day of exile. But more importantly, Earth now had allies. The Carvari resistance was providing intelligence about Council fleet movements. The Zephyrian rebels were sabotaging Council supply lines, and every week Ambassador Park made contact with another species that was ready to fight for their freedom. "Admiral," said her aide, "Director Yoon is requesting a meeting with all senior commanders. He says it is time to discuss Operation Prometheus." Han nodded. Operation Prometheus was the plan they had been working toward for 3 years. The operation that would break humanity's chains and announce to the galaxy that Earth was no longer content to stay in one system. She looked out the window at the massive fleet hidden in the asteroid belt. 500 ships crewed by the best soldiers humanity had ever produced. Ships equipped with technology that would surprise and shock the Council. Ships ready to carry the fight to every corner of the galaxy. "Tell Director Yoon that I will be there," she said. "It is time to show the Council what happens when you try to cage humanity." The meeting was held on the hidden base inside asteroid designated Series 7. Every senior military commander was there, along with the leaders of Earth's intelligence services and scientific research programs. Director Yoon stood at the head of the table, looking at the faces of the people who would lead humanity's return to the galaxy.